Good day, Legend Joe.
How you doing?
How are you feeling today?
Alhamdulillah.
Looking at you, you are looking great.
Ah, so I
So
was
there's
told.
no need to ask. So we are here today on we have a few questions to ask you
Okay.
regarding the political happenings in the country right now.
Okay.
And I would like to kick off from the aspect of the coalition's authenticity,
Okay.
the originality of it. So looking at it, we have different faces in the coalition,
Mm.
the likes of Atiku,
Mm.
Obi,
Mm.
Aerofire, and Kwakwanso, and the rest, just to name a few.
Mm.
So these are people who were rivals not too long ago, like
Yes.
in 2023
Yes.
election, but now they have come together.
Mm.
Right? So let's be honest, is this alliance truly about Nigeria, or is this simply about removing Tinubu by any means necessary?
Oh, I think that's a wonderful question, and it's equally very relevant. Okay. For risk of sounding biased,
Okay.
my alignment is not hidden, but I would detach myself from partisanship, preferences, and just speak to the issue as they are.
Okay.
You see, for the easiest way for me to judge any man and to try to ascertain what their motives are is to place their past in front of them. You examine their past. From that, you can be sure of, okay, what is their current mindset. Even in the biblical David,
Yes.
when he was going to face Goliath, everyone that stood on that plain, on that field on that day, discouraged him. Even King Saul said, look, even I, the king, a veteran warrior, I do not want to go into this. Step aside. David did not go only saying, okay, I have just believe me, I have good intentions. David read to Saul his curriculum vitae. I have killed this lion while tending to my father's sheep. I have wrestled bear. Even these two can fall. David relied, first of all, on his experience and then placing it up with God's backing. You understand? Meaning that even in matters of spiritual dimension, the experience of your past exploits can either guarantee you our trust, or our doubts. These men that have gathered, they have always been gathering. Many of them were in the same camp not quite long. You understand? Now, if you say it is in the interest of Nigeria, then you ask, okay, what are the reasons? You now think you do a better job than the man there. Because if you want to remove the man currently there, it is based upon the impression that you think you can do a better job, isn't it? Now, if you see many of the things this current government are done, and some of them that has been made perhaps the reasons for the hardship many Nigerians think they are currently going through, are the issues all of them collectively agreed they are going to solve exactly in this manner. Subsidy, for example, because I don't know if it's been born out of ignorance, mischief, or just sheer absentness of mind. Where people still say, in Jonathan's time, I was saying Arise this morning, where Ayomaru he say, in comparison, in Jonathan's time, fuel was 200. Is everything okay? Are we all right? Because this is not lack of education now, this is lack of sanity. Because we all knew that all of them campaigned on saying we will remove subsidy, isn't it? Peter specifically said, I will remove it the first day. All the debates, the interviews, all of them granted at the time, we all collectively agreed subsidy was a cancer that must be expunged. You remove cancer to cure it. And why must it be expunged? Is that since 1985, this is a 40-year journey. Every leader had realized that since we have discovered oil in the Niger Delta, we have mismanaged the situation such that we are not profiting as much as other nations that are equally oil producing. And then for populist agenda, our leaders, our politicians begin to do things that will attract easy applause at the expense of long-lasting, enduring development. Where were we at the beginning of this First Republic? Through the Jonathan era, which Nigerians ignorantly say it was the golden era, we had it better, it was not as bad as this. Where were we? When we were subsidizing everything, particularly oil, where were we? Where we are is that as recent as Jonathan's era, the brilliant, erudite, and astute Okonjo-Iweala was every day lamenting on TV they cannot pay salaries. Maybe because I am not a Gen Z. I think many of the Gen Z are born. With respect, I don't know if we both are Gen Zs. You might not be. But with respect to the Gen Zs, I've met many of them that are very, very intelligent, two of you included. However, I think many of them, particularly those on Twitter, are born with a very critical portion of their cerebellum not active. Because those that are old enough knows that Okonjo was weeping every day. You know how brilliant Okonjo is? You know how brilliant Okonjo, the DGWTO today. Okonjo was weeping every day. They couldn't pay salaries. When Buhari took over in 2015, about 22 states of this nation they were insolvent. They couldn't meet salary. They couldn't pay salaries. They were coming to Abuja bowl in hand, like Amajiri, begging for alms. Every 3 months, the Buhari government was bailing the governors out. States were at the brink of collapsing. But then we were buying fuel for 170 naira, less than 200 naira. And you can imagine that states that couldn't pay salaries can definitely not meet capital obligations. Salaries is the basic, is the standard, is the barest minimum. So if you can't pay salaries, if you have to cry, weep, yell to meet salary obligations, it means you couldn't even build roads, you couldn't build bridges. Wike in 2022, leading to the campaign, said that many of the states are insolvent. And it was until Buhari, through PIA, the 13% derivation, that many of the oil-producing states could manage to even do a little. We were on the brink of collapse. Buhari government met their borrowing threshold. Debt to revenue became 97%. You understand? They couldn't borrow anymore. They resorted to printing money, ways and means, 27 trillion in ways and means. So, when you compare, our leaders mortgaged our future for immediate convenience, for temporary relief. And we being citizens, of course, I also would like to buy fuel cheap. But if I buy fuel cheap today, is it sustainable in another 10 years? If I buy it today, what has to suffer? What is the opportunity cost? What are we foregoing for that cheap fuel we are buying now? So all of them agreed they will remove subsidy. Only that Tinubu was the only one that has the courage. Leaders have been promising us in 1986. None of them had the political stamina, the will to see it through. Tinubu did, as they have promised. So if they're coming today now to say fuel is expensive, removing the fact that there's crisis in the Middle East complicating these issues, because fuel, as at last 2 months, was already coming down. Courtesy Dangote refinery, was already coming down. Initially, when they removed subsidy, it was about 900, 950. We were already buying fuel for 650, 600 as of February before this, because the market stabilized. There was trust in the system, because if you don't remove subsidy, you won't get investment. Dangote could launch his refinery for production. Bua could commence building his own, and many other modular refineries started, coming up, and then we had, reliably sufficient supply. So, if they are coming together now to say they want to remove him, courtesy that, it means they were lying to Nigerians. They didn't mean to remove the subsidy, or they didn't even know the meaning or the essence of what they were saying in 2022. We floated the currency. Again, it was what Ayomaro Ise said, dollar was. That was not the true value of the dollar, of our naira. That was not the true value. We were subsidizing the naira against the dollar. Boa, don't take my word for it. Listen to what investors were saying. Boa said they had to kill before Emefiele. Try to, they will exhaust the might of their contacts and network to see Emefiele, to get dollars, to get Forex. Then you get Forex today, say at 10 naira, or let's say at 400 naira, there's a margin of 200, 250. The black market is saying 700, official rate is saying 400. People do not know what this means, the implication of this. It means that it is more profitable for me to collect the dollars round trip in the black market and make the 300 naira margin than to try to manufacture or produce. It was killing talent. It was killing motivation. Manufacturers and investors lost their impetus because why should I risk producing, selling, going through the chains of distribution to gain perhaps maybe on each product 150 naira per product when I can easily gain 300 naira and $1 round tripping. So Bua says you apply for weeks. You have to start bribing CBN officials, start tipping people to have access to dollars. Were we not all here when Emirates had to shut down? They couldn't repatriate their funds. And our people, our businessmen and tourists couldn't travel to Dubai because companies no longer trust that, okay, after struggling to do business in your country, we made profit or we made revenue or income, we cannot even access them because we're short of dollars. So the country was battling a twin subsidy jeopardy of fuel and currency. All of them have to tell me now, reliably speaking, and I will believe them if they tell me there's any country, especially those we aspire to or go to, when we get their visa, we give testimony in churches, where this practice is being maintained. There are many countries that were initially subsidizing fuel, Egypt included. Many of them had to break that irregular system. It's not something you can subsidize fuel, but it has to be a temporary measure. Currently now, if your country can afford it, considering the crisis, governments can then intervene in the markets. Okay, put a price cap on fuel and say, okay, whatever the difference is, you manage. It cannot be a permanent policy. It's a lazy our government. So these are the two end policies that ensure that the consequences shook the citizens a bit, which is what our opposition politicians are intending or trying to ride upon. It's not going to work. The people are more enlightened now. Now, the Atiku served as vice president in 1999 to 2007. And we have put the challenge out there since 2022. It's been 4 years we've put it out. If you see any 100-kilometer road that was constructed at that time, so they bring it out. I am from the Southwest, so I will speak for the zone. None of the federal roads that connect Southwest to other states at the time of OBJ and Atiku was constructed. If there was any, let them bring it out. Whatever you see in Southwest today was courtesy Buhari government, which is equally APC, and this government. You know of the Sokoto Badagry Road under construction. You know of the Lagos Calabar Coastal Road under construction, and many of those capital projects couldn't have been possible if we maintained certain, bad habits that we were indulging because of popularity. So they are clearly, because there's not even clarity in their thoughts, in their thought process. So they are clearly not doing it because they love Nigeria. They can't even tell me they love Nigeria because all of them had the opportunity to give their best, to deliver their best for Nigeria. All of them. Soludo, who took over from Peter Obi, had made us know who is the current governor. And Obiano, who took over from Peter Obi, they all made us know what the man's credentials were. And the man himself cannot boldly tell us of anything of significance that he did beyond, I saved money in bank. You cannot call Tony Elumelu, for example, of UBA, and he wants to pitch himself to investors, and then he starts with, do not matter that we couldn't give shareholders dividends. Do not be bothered that the infrastructure, as we came in now, the doors were not working, the electric doors. You guys have to jack it up. The CCTV are not so reliable. And it took you guys 2 hours to access your funds at the counter. But don't worry. We have enough savings. Have you ever had any US president campaign on the grounds of I saved when I was governor of New York? No. Savings will come at the backs of the infrastructure that you have put in place that would give about ease of doing business, that will attract investors. So it is upon those kind of spendings that you can say, okay, your state is now viable. The high GR, based on that, investors have flooded your state. So the state is solvent, the state is rich. We have enough to even attract borrowings. We have enough to pursue and prosecute infrastructure. We have enough to compete with some of the best states around the world. And it explains why the man couldn't stay in his state after his 8 years as governor. And I heard that even as governor, he was sleeping in Lagos. He was governing from Lagos. When they cut his aid with 200 million from the allegation that so circulated, it was in Lagos. What was he doing in Lagos? Because some people built Lagos. As much as we will criticize we will continue to criticize our governors, because we are not a people that will pamper mediocrity. In some states, once you do drainage, JB, Julius Baja slab, and you do one or two fountains, you have delivered. No, for us, we want to see trains. No, for the Yorubas, we want to see highways. For the Yorubas, we want to see, the developments that will rival South Africa, that will rival New York, that will rival California. We will not celebrate because we saw JB slab. So, but as much as we want to do that, Lagos and Ogun today, their developments in those states rival, and it is the states, perhaps two of the best states in the country today. And Lagos remain, I think, number 4, number 5, the most developed state in Africa. Correct? So they are not coming to change Nigeria. I'm not sure they are even promising you that. They are coming because the man that currently occupies that position, they all competed against him in 2023, and they suffered embarrassing loss. All of them, individually. Collectively, the result will not be different. So, that is it.
Thank you for that. And Legendary Joe,
Yeah.
having seen the rise of the opposition party, is a ruling party at this moment in a panic mode.
I'm happy you didn't call them coalition. Because people mistake. They call themselves coalition because they badly want to be a coalition. So I'm happy you address them appropriately, because that is not a coalition. A coalition is what we saw in 2014 with the APC. There was ACN, there was AMPP, there was CPC. Correct? ACN, which was Tinubu's state, donated A, the letter A, in the name APC. AMPP donated P. CPC, the Buhari state, donated C. All of them collapsed their structures, liquidated their individuality, and merged to become a single entity. Buhari didn't come with 2 or 3 people and say, okay, I'm joining ACN, Tinubu's ACN. Therefore, this is a coalition. The Kwakwansos of this world do not come with 2 people and say, they collapsed the structures of their respective parties and formed a single momentous unit. What these ones are doing is PDP still exists, don't they? Labour still exists, does it not? So individuals are leaving the parties and trying to find shelter somewhere, which I hope they have now found. If we are jittery, let them even get their hearts together first. Let us know if whatever you now come up with, you guys deserve to send some panics to the ruling party. Get your hearts together first. The ruling party has done its convention, has it not? Have they? They might not. Because people are not observing that the mere fact that many of these giants, I want to respectfully speaking, many of these giants are leaving their parties, is testament enough, is testimony enough that they shouldn't be given this country to govern. A man who cannot handle a kiosk, who cannot successfully manage a kiosk. You know what a kiosk is? Where those men sell sweets, babadudu, gala, A man that cannot successfully manage a kiosk cannot be given an enterprise. You cannot be given a multinational enterprise to handle. I have Mr. Femi Otedola's book. What's that again?
Dream big.
Dream Break, thank you. But you all know the book. Have you got the book?
I've read.
I strongly recommend. I won't be lending anybody mine. But when you open the introductory pages of this book, you will see that whatever you see of Atedela today, they didn't start today. He is today an oil magnate, a big player in the oil industry. But it started with delivering in jerrycans, delivering in tankers, driving tankers across the neighborhood. And then he expands, he expands. And then it's now one that's dwelling and dominating the energy market, the oil market, and what have you. It plays around industries. But it started with driving tankers on the streets. You get the point? If he failed in the tanker business, he cannot be given. I don't care if his father was former governor. He cannot be given a PLC to manage. You get the point? All these individuals couldn't manage their kiosk. Atiku, a former vice president, somebody who's been contesting shoulder to shoulder against the likes of MKO, a Shehu Yaradua mentee, the same man who mentored Tinubu. Shehu Yaradua will be rolling in the graves at the magnitude of failure he produced in Atiku. You cannot manage PDP, a party handed over to you by the fathers. The Fourth Republic was battered by PDP because they were the first to form a government in 1999, correct? A party that has produced presidents, that has produced governors, in tens and hundreds, ministers, handed over to you on a platter because many of the older leaders have more or less retired. OBJ, they are IBBs of this world. Jonathan is occupying his dignified position as elder statesman, but you insist to remain in the game. And then it was handed over to you. He's probably the most experienced politician in that party. When the likes of Atiku was contesting to be president, the likes of Makinde, Wike would most likely be in college. This man couldn't manage the internal crisis of PDP so much that he had to leave, flee, abandon the party. He couldn't manage a kiosk. Many people do not know how complex leadership is. Presidency of a country like this is. It's a complex situation, sir. Those that are not even presidents, that are just local government chairmen, speakers, I work with the speaker. And those that have had the opportunity to speak with the man on one, you will know the enormous weight of leadership. In a country that is multi-tribal, multi-religious, multi-interest, multi-dimensional like this, the man couldn't manage a party. A party is a macrocosm of the nation, is it not? So if the challenges of a single political party can overwhelm you, you will commit suicide if you could become president. That's why the best he would ever be is vice president, reaping from the efforts of the principal. And even then, he was fighting. He almost murdered his principal. It's in his book, My Watch. You see the books in my wall. My Watch, the 3 volumes I've reread multiple times over. But I pay closer attention to that area where OBJ referenced that article. And the testimony was not flattering. It was that of disappointment. It was that of regret on the part of OBJ. In fact, OBJ once said in an interview that the only error he knows God will not forgive him for is picking Atiku as a vice president. If your principal says this, I believe him. Because he knows you more than any of these ones that now follow you like tick, that follow you like bed bugs. He couldn't manage the PDP. And same goes for, in fact, Peter's own is more embarrassing. It's painful to me. Because democracy, as much as we want to say, oh, we want Ashwaju to win, we want writers like me, it makes a better story when you are writing of an hugely contested race. That is why I've been challenging the likes of, and I've seized the opportunity to call out the likes of Kunle Afolayan, the likes of Funke Akindele, Mohabudu, Bolanle Austin Peter, these beautiful, excellent story writers. You have failed as filmmakers, all of you, if you cannot do us a movie on the 2022-2023 race. The intrigues of that era, sir, can make for an thrilling series. Even if they focus on just the APC dimension, the twists and turns, was Ashoshibajo going to contest? Mentee versus mentor? Where is Fashola standing in this? What is Buhari saying on this? Will Buhari have an anointed candidate? All the intrigues that was APC candidacy, which Ashwaju emerged victorious, is enough. So writers, political commentators, analysts, we want to speak on an hugely contested race. Give us competition. Give us competition. Let Ashwaju be afraid to lose. Because that is the beauty of democracy, where leaders know they will come back to beg for votes from the electorate. It's because the election is a referendum on your performance in the last 4 years. So leaders are kept on their toes, knowing that they will still have to rely on the electorate, on the citizens to return. But once charlatans gather together, those that could not manage a kiosk, Labour, Obi built a... He didn't build. Obi inherited a movement that emerged from NSAS protests. Out of the collective anger, frustrations of the people, either credible or misguided, there were genuine frustrations. Anybody that rose at that time, whose rising coincides with that frustration, would have inherited it. But fortunately for Obi, was the man who inherited that frustration, and the movement became his. An intelligent, a foresighted, and a visionary leader would have converted that movement into a party. You might not even need Labour Party. The obedient movement is sufficient enough to become a force on its own. But okay, you guys chose to reside in the Labour Party. And then what happened in the Labour Party? What was the big deal that happened in the Labour Party? Look, when Oshomole was chairman, APC, and there was a gang up to remove Oshomole. You know why they removed Oshomole? They didn't accuse the man of financial impropriety. He wasn't caught with any of their wives in an hotel room. No. It was a plan ahead. Knowing Oshomole was close to Asiwaju, it was a plan ahead to remove him so that to frustrate Asiwaju's ambitions. Imagine Asiwaju now fleeing from APC. What a coming. They are planning against me. They are gagging up against me. No, they have stayed. Now, the man who became chairman that organized the APC primaries that battered Asiwaju's candidacy was not necessarily favorable to Asiwaju. Asiwaju stayed. Because as a leader, the qualities of a leader is his ability to manage and effectively sustain relationships. You have to be able to manage people. That is where most people that present themselves are disguised as leaders. That's where they fail. Peter cannot manage people. And that is why he served at 8 years as governor, but none of his cabinet members are speaking for him today. At least one commissioner should be called to come out. He was my boss. He performed well. Nobody. You know why? He's a user. Because users, you are only important to users to the extent that you are delivering value. They don't build people. They don't raise people. People don't become leaders. So is APC panicking? Ow. These are people that collectively joined the party, ADC. You see? As leaders again, leaders must be humble enough to accept that even though you are a lion in a jungle, you might just be a cat in another one. You left your respective party because you were candidates of your respective parties in 2023. You came into a new party and you decide to disregard their constitution. The ADC constitution clearly says that you must have been a card-carrying member of that party for 2 years to be a national leader, to occupy a national position in the party's leadership. These people came today and they became leaders the same day. And then you say, leaders you met there, some of them shouldn't be discussed. Not everybody is buyable. Perhaps you gave 1 or 2 people millions they have never encountered in their lives, and they surrendered their rights, albeit illegally, to you. And then 1 or 2 say, no, I know my rights and I'll pursue it legally. And then you are in this mess where you don't even know if you are members at all. and you say is APC afraid? The party that had this convention, 31, 32 governors. You know how difficult it is for a party such as this, where you have heavyweight, big names, to have a successful convention and there are no fallout from that convention. Where people say, no, I'm not happy about the outcome, I'm going to court. And everywhere is calm and silent. The easiest thing for them to say is Tinubu has given everybody money. Now, this party is in leadership tussle. A certain Nofio Gombe is saying, I'm the rightful leader of this party. Then you are caught up in courts imbroglio. When they send their spokespersons to TV, imagine what they say. They say Nofio Gombe, a man who initially could not pay his rent, is poor, is broke, he wears one trouser. There was a day he came on Okada, he couldn't pay the Okada man. How can he now afford 3 cents? How is he now moving around Abuja with convoy? How is that my business? For God's sake. You come on TV and say the reason you people are frustrated is because Nofio Gombe, whom you are judging and assessing based on his pocket and financial capacity, can now afford what you think he shouldn't be able to afford because you think wealth is the exclusive reserve of some people. And once you are not in that class, you are not permitted to drive in convoy. What if the Sons decided to take the case pro bono, knowing that you people are cheating these men? They are used to bullying young politicians. That was how El-Rufai, who is now in custody, went to SDP, and the guy didn't register as a member. And he started conducting parallel meetings. The party expelled him for 50 years. Get out of here. This is, what do you mean? Because you came with a Land Cruiser, I think you can buy everybody. So they are not organized enough to cause a threat. That's my point. They have not even coordinated. They don't even have a party as it stands. At least form a party first. They will know if we deserve to be afraid. For now, they need they had a protest, not quite long. I think 2 days, 3 days ago, protest. Was it today? Oh, they did today too? Yes. Because normally, real protest, I won't be able to access my office. We've had protests in this country since pre-colonial era, sir. Pre-independence era, you understand? We have protests on, there was Aba women riot protest by the women of Aba and its environs against taxation, correct? And the outcome was that the colonialists listened. Funmilayo Kuti, the lioness of Lisabi, at the protest, the Egba women too, correct? The Alake of Egba abdicated the throne. That taxation was reversed. We've always had protests. Our fathers protested against the colonials for independence. Today we have our flag, we have our anthem, they self-rule. Correct? We've always had protests. There was Ali Must Go in the 70s. That was the birth of student participation in nation building. Ali went. There was reform. There was Occupy Nigeria in 2012. Correct? The government listened. These ones are protesting because Tinubu will not spoon feed them. That this is how to run a party. This was how I did it from AD. And don't do this. Follow your constitution. INEC chairman must go. If INEC chairman goes, who will appoint the next one? The same Tinubu. Are these people okay? INEC Amukwito must go. If he goes, will you put your son there? Is it not the same Tinubu that will appoint another? You get the point? So organize yourselves first. They say a lazy farmer will blame his axe. A lazy farmer. When others have formed ridges, are harvesting, you say, if only this axe was sharp. But an unfortunate farmer will blame other farmers. You are failing to organize your own house, but it's the landlord of another compound that should be blamed. Tinubu should be blamed for your own inadequacies. Now, that is not panic. Otherwise, we are the ones to be blaming them. But for them to be casting all aspersions and based on no evidence that presented none, how APC has a hand in their crisis. Form a party first. So, like I said earlier, I want to write, I want to speak, I want to analyze a competitive democracy. The election must reflect that. The opposition, we need them to get their hearts together. If there's still time to beg enough, you Gombe, and there are other 6 other cases in ADC. I don't know how they intend to do that. Which was easier, to form a new party or to join one? Why can't they form a new party? Ashwaju formed one. Seriki Dixon, we just left the Senate, PDP, formed one. Showore he has a party at least. And the party has managed to kept to the dictates of the law. These overfed, overgrown babies cannot form a party. And these are the ones who want me. You want even I, who is a small player, a small fish in the fry, cannot be, cannot tremble before their formation. Let alone an Asiwaju who has formed the party, as opposition party, who has fought the ruling government at the time, who has managed to chase the ruling government away from power, and who has managed to place himself as president. Let them be the party first, then we'll panic. Thank you.
Thank you.